The sun shone through my window, and birds chirped outside, filling the air with their cheerful songs. I stretched my arms and climbed out of bed, feeling a rush of excitement. Today was special. I had been looking forward to it for a long time. I was finally going to visit my grandfather's house in the countryside. After quickly brushing my teeth and getting dressed, I saw that my mother had already packed my bag. She smiled warmly and asked, "Are you ready?" I nodded eagerly. My father started the car, and we all got in. The drive was long, but I didn't mind. As I looked out the window, I saw endless green fields, tall trees, and little houses scattered along the way. The air felt crisp and fresh. The countryside was peaceful, and I loved every bit of it. After a few hours, we finally arrived. My grandfather stood at the gate, smiling brightly. He hugged me tight and said, "Welcome, my boy." Seeing him made me so happy. His house was big and old, with a beautiful garden full of colorful flowers. A small pond nearby had fish swimming in it. Everything about this place felt warm and familiar, just like home. After we had some tea, my grandfather took me to the farm. He had cows, chickens, and goats. He showed me how to feed them. I took some grains and fed the chickens. They clucked happily and pecked at the food. The goats were playful. They ran around and tried to jump on me. I laughed and petted them. My grandfather then took me to the fields. The crops were tall and green. He said they would be ready for harvest soon. He picked a ripe mango from a tree and gave it to me. It was sweet and juicy. I loved it. I felt so happy being there. The air smelled of fresh grass. The sky was blue, and the sun was shining bright. It was a perfect day. In the evening, my grandfather told me a story. He always had the best stories. This one was about a brave boy who saved his village from a flood. I listened carefully. His stories were always full of adventure and lessons. After the story, my mother called me for dinner. The food was delicious. My grandmother had cooked my favorite dishes. I ate happily and felt full. After dinner, I went outside. The sky was full of stars. It was so beautiful. I had never seen so many stars in the city. I lay on the grass and watched them twinkle. My grandfather sat beside me and pointed at the constellations. He knew all their names. He said, "The stars tell stories too." I listened and felt peaceful. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of birds. I got ready quickly because I wanted to explore more. My grandfather said he would take me to the river. I was excited. We walked through the fields, and I saw many beautiful flowers and butterflies. The river was clear and cool. I put my feet in the water. It felt nice. My grandfather told me that long ago, the river was much bigger. He said people used to catch big fish here. I picked up some smooth stones and threw them into the water. They made small splashes. I laughed and tried again. I wanted to stay there forever. After some time, we returned home. My mother was making sweets with my grandmother. I asked if I could help. They smiled and gave me some dough. I tried to shape it, but it was not perfect. They laughed and helped me. I felt happy. The sweets smelled so good. I couldn't wait to eat them. My grandfather came and said he had something special to show me. I followed him to the attic. It was full of old things. He took out a wooden box. Inside, there were old pictures, letters, and a pocket watch. He said the watch belonged to my great-grandfather. He told me stories about him. I listened carefully. It felt like stepping into the past. In the afternoon, my grandfather said we would go to the market. I was excited. The market was colorful and full of people. There were many stalls selling fresh fruits, vegetables, clothes, and toys. I saw a man making cotton candy. It looked like a pink cloud. My grandfather bought one for me. It was sweet and melted in my mouth. I also saw a man playing a flute. His music was beautiful. My grandfather bought some fresh vegetables and sweets for the house. As we walked back, I saw a little puppy near a shop. It was small and had big brown eyes. It looked at me and wagged its tail. I wanted to take it home, but my mother said it belonged to the shopkeeper. I felt a little sad, but I knew the puppy had a home. When we reached home, my grandfather said he would teach me how to fly a kite. I was excited. He gave me a bright red kite. He showed me how to hold the string and run with the wind. At first, I struggled, but then the kite went up high in the sky. I felt proud. I watched it dance in the wind. It was so much fun. My grandfather smiled and said, "You did it." The sun was setting, and the sky turned orange and pink. It was the most beautiful evening. At night, my grandfather took me to the rooftop. The moon was shining bright. He told me another story, this time about a wise old man who lived in the mountains. I loved listening to his stories. They always made me think. I lay down and watched the moon. I felt peaceful. I didn't want this day to end. The next day, it was time to go back home. I felt sad. I didn't want to leave. My grandfather hugged me and said, "Come back soon." I promised I would. As we drove away, I looked out of the window and waved. I knew I would always remember these days. I felt happy and grateful. The countryside was a special place, and my grandfather was the best storyteller in the world. As we drove back home, I kept looking out of the window until my grandfather's house disappeared from sight. My heart felt heavy, and I wished I could stay longer. The trip back felt different. The trees, the fields, and the open sky all seemed to be saying goodbye. I leaned my head against the window and thought about everything I had done in the past few days. Feeding the animals, flying the kite, listening to my grandfather's stories. It all felt like a dream. My mother noticed that I was quiet and asked if I was okay. I nodded. But deep inside, I knew I would miss my grandfather and the peaceful countryside. The city was different. It was noisy, full of cars and tall buildings. There were no wide-open fields, no animals running around, and no starry skies like the ones at my grandfather's house. When we reached home, everything felt familiar yet different. My room was the same, my bed was the same, but something inside me had changed. I put my bag down and sat by the window. The street below was busy with people walking and cars honking. It was nothing like the quiet nights at my grandfather's house. I missed the sound of crickets and the cool night breeze. That night, I couldn't sleep easily. I kept thinking about my grandfather and all the wonderful moments we had shared. I wished I could go back soon. The next morning, I woke up early and decided to write a letter to my grandfather. I took a piece of paper and wrote about everything I felt. I told him how much I missed him, how I missed feeding the chickens, flying the kite, and listening to his stories. I drew a small picture of the red kite I had flown. When I finished, I put the letter in an envelope and gave it to my mother to send. She smiled and said, "Grandpa will be so happy to read this." Days passed, and I slowly got back into my routine. School started again, and I was busy with homework and classes. But even with all the busyness, I often thought about my time at my grandfather's house. One afternoon, when I came home from school, my mother handed me an envelope. "It's from Grandpa," she said. I quickly opened it. Inside was a letter written in his neat handwriting. He told me how happy he was to receive my letter. He said the farm animals were doing well, and the red kite was still flying high in the sky. He wrote that he had another new story to tell me, and I should visit soon so he could tell me in person. Reading his letter made me smile. I decided that no matter how busy life got, I would always find time to visit him. A few months later, we had a long holiday from school. As soon as my mother mentioned it, I asked, "Can we go to Grandpa's house?" She smiled and said, "Yes, we will go next week." I was so excited. I counted the days until the trip. When the day finally came, I packed my bag quickly and ran to the car. The journey felt shorter this time because I was so eager to reach. When we arrived, my grandfather was waiting at the gate, just like last time. He had the same warm smile. He hugged me and said, "Welcome back, my boy." It felt like I had never left. The farm looked just as beautiful, the air was still fresh, and everything felt peaceful. This time, my grandfather had planned something special. "We will go fishing tomorrow," he said. I had never been fishing before, so I was excited. The next morning, we walked to the river, carrying fishing rods and a small basket. My grandfather showed me how to put the bait on the hook and throw the line into the water. We sat on a big rock and waited. The river was calm, and the water sparkled under the sun. After a while, I felt a tug on my line. "You got one," my grandfather said. I pulled with all my strength, and a small fish appeared. I was so happy. My grandfather laughed and said, "You're a natural fisherman." We caught a few more fish before heading back home. My grandmother cooked them for dinner, and they tasted delicious. The next few days were filled with more adventures. We explored the nearby forest, where I saw deer and colorful birds. We collected firewood and made a small bonfire at night. My grandfather told me another one of his amazing stories as we sat around the fire. It was about a young traveler who got lost in the mountains and found his way using the stars.